Olive hay.
Yeah.
One eats fruit. One eats in his father-in-law's house in Judea without witnesses. He cannot lodge a claim concerning her virginity against her because he excludes himself with her. Both the widow of a non-Kohen and the widow of a Kohen have a kedusha of 100 dues. The court of the Kohanim would collect 400 dues for a virgin, and the sages did not stop them. If one marries a woman and does not find any tokens of virginity, she says, "After you betrothed me, I was violated, and your misfortune caused it." And the other one says, "Not so. It happened before I betrothed you, and my acquisition was made in error." Ram Gamil and Reb Eliezer say she is believed. Reb Yeshua, however, says she is not believed. Rather, it is presumed that she was a non-virgin before she was betrothed, and that she misled him until she proves her claim. If she says, "I was injured by a piece of wood," and he says, "Not so, but you were deflowered by a man," Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer said she is believed. Rabbi Shua, however, says she is not believed. Rather, it is presumed that she has been deflowered by a man until she proves her claim. Okay.
Okay. Now we move on to the same debate, but now instead of a context of monetary claims, we're now talking about kedusha claims. And we have a case of Uha Medaberes im Echad B'Shuk. Medaberes is a euphemism. Basically, she secluded herself with a guy. And so now we don't know who he was. And we're now concerned that this woman has had relations with a man who she wasn't allowed to marry, and therefore she's now pasul kahuna. So she claims, Amrullah, they said to her, Mati v'shel what's who was this guy that you went into yichud with? She says, Ish ploni v'kohen hu, and that's a guzma that she says he's a kohen, but like doesn't love dafka a kohen, but just somebody who's kosher. So we say it in the Mishnah as he's a kohen, as but say look how trustworthy he is. It's fine. He's completely okay. Rabban Gamliel v'Rabbi Eliezer omim ne'emes. We say okay, that's fine. We'll take her word for it because she has a chazaka again. She was originally kosher, and we don't have to suspect that she was with like a non-Jew or a mamzer or something like that. Okay. Rabbi Yeshua Omer lo mipiha anu chayin. How can we trust her? Ela hare zo b'chezkas ba'ula lenasin ula mamzer. She we will assume we have to suspect that maybe she had relations with a nasin, a mamzer, a goy, whatever. Ad shitati raya lidvareya, unless she can prove who was this guy that she was secluded with. Okay. Um, and once again, in all let me just see if I'll mention it after this. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same machlokes in the next Mishnah. Hi, Samuel Beres. This woman turns up pregnant, and we don't know. So now the question is not just on her, but also going to be on the child. Okay. Amrula mati v'shel ubarzeh. Who did you get pregnant by? Meish ploni v'kohen hu. He's a good guy. He was a kohen. No. Okay. Rabban Gamliel v'Rabbi Eliezer omim ne'emenes will say, okay, not only is she believed regarding herself in terms of who she can marry, but she is believed for her baby. Now, this is actually quite a big chiddush when you think about it, because she had a chazaka that she was kosher. Her baby has never had a chazaka. This is a new baby that's coming into the world, and how can we know that this child is actually kosher? Is kosher? Rabbi Yeshua Mer lo mipiha anu chayin. He says for sure. He says we can't trust her. Ela harei zo b'chezkas me'uberes lanasin u'lamamzer ad shetavi raya lidvareha. So this Mishnah seems like almost a repetition of the previous one, but it adds the chiddush over here that even in the case of the child who doesn't really have a chazaka, we take the child's chazaka goes after his mother, according to Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer, and in all these cases the halacha follows them and not Rabbi Yeshua. Amar Rabbi Yossi. So we actually have a maseh betinokes sheyarda lemalos ma'im ayin. A young girl who went down to get water from the well. V'nein and somebody ambushed her, Rahmana litzlan, and raped her. Amar Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Okay, so says Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, im rov anshe ha'ir masiin lekahuna, hare zotin aseh lekahuna. He says in this case we're going to go after a majority. She doesn't know who he was. We don't know who he was. And now we have to go according to the majority of people in the area who are, is it if it's a majority of people who are kosher, then then she, and if she becomes pregnant, and her baby would still be kosher. But if not, then she's pasul lekahuna, and the child is the child. Well, I suppose. Um, Yeah, the child would not be considered a mamzer unless it was unless you had a lot of mamzerim hanging around there. Um, but if you're going off the majority, even if the majority are non-Jews, then her child would still be Jewish. She would be pasul l'kohuna, and her child would just thinking if it was a girl, she'd even be allowed to marry a kohen, I think.
It's really a kiddush.
Hmm?
Well,
I don't know.
uh,
I'm just thinking aloud here. I don't have any evidence for that right now, but I'm just thinking that if you had a ger, if the parent was a ger, then for sure the daughter would be one. If one parent is a ger, then the child is allowed to marry a kohen. If no, no, I think not actually. I think the child is kind of got the child of a goy, the daughter of a goy, and a Jewish mother is Jewish, but I think she has the status of a halala. I don't think she's allowed to marry. I don't think she's allowed to marry a kohen. Okay, that's that.
okay, vamos.
Yeah.
I have Ted of Olive. A woman who went with her husband overseas, and there were amity between him and her, and peace in the world. And she came and said, "My husband died; she may marry." Or she said, "My husband died; she may be taken in yibum." If there was amity between him and her, but war in the world, or if there was a conflict between him and her, and peace in the world, and she came and said, "My husband died," she is not believed. Rabbi Yehuda said she is never believed unless she comes weeping and with her clothes torn. They said to him, "In either case, she may marry." Priscilla said, "We may have not heard this tradition except in the case where she came from the harvest and from the same country as in the incident occurred." Right? Shammai said to them, "It is the same whether she came from harvesting grain or pickling olives or picking grapes from one country to another." The sages mentioned the harvest only in recounting the actual incident. Priscilla recanted and began to rule like Beit Shammai. Beit Shammai says she may marry and she may receive a ketubah, but Beit Hillel says she may marry, but she does not receive a ketubah. Beit Shammai said to them, "You permitted the grave herb offense, but you will not permit the less grave offense, money offense." Beit Hillel replied, "We find that the brothers do not inherit the estate on her testimony." Beit Shammai replied, "We can learn from this that a ketubah document in which he writes to her, 'If you marry another, you shall receive what is written to you.'" Beit Hillel recanted and began to rule like Beit Shammai. Okay.
Okay, Gimel Ches.
If any of them had been the subject of a question of betrothal or divorce, the co-wives require chalitza but may not be taken in yibum. How is that betrothal was in question? If he threw the betrothal to her and there is a doubt whether or not it was closer to him or closer to her, there was a question of betrothal. How is it that the divorce was in question? If he wrote a bill of divorce in his own hand but without witnesses, or with witnesses but without a date, or with a date without only one witness, this is a question of divorce. Three brothers were married to three strangers, and one of them died. And then the second one performed mama with her and also died. They require chalitza, but may not be taken in yibum. As it is stated, and one of them dies, and her husband's brother shall come to her. Only a widow who is attached by one brother's bond is subject to yibum, not a widow who is attached by two brothers' bonds. Rabbi Shimon says he may perform yibum with whomever one he wishes, but he must then perform chalitza with the other. If two brothers were married to two sisters and one of them died and the second one's wife died, she is forbidden to him forever because she was once forbidden to him. The two men were betrothed to two women, but when they entered the bridal canopy, they confused one with the other. They're obligated to bring a sin offering because of adultery. If they were brothers, because of the prohibition against a brother's wife. If they were sisters, because of the prohibition against a wife's sister. If they were menstruants, because of the prohibition against a menstruant. We separate them for 3 months in case they are pregnant. But if they were minors incapable of childbirth, we restore them immediately. If they were the daughters of a Kohanim, they are disqualified from eating truma.
Yama.
Yoma. Okay. I have Ches Hey. If a pregnant woman smelled food or drink and we requested it, they feed her until she recovers. A sick person, they feed him according to the advice of experts, but if no experts are present, they feed him relying on his own opinion until he says enough. If one was seized with bolos, they feed him even forbidden foods until his vision is restored. If one was bitten by a mad dog, they may not feed him its liver low, but Master Ben Karash said permits it. If Master Ben Karash said also that if one has an ailment in his throat, they may drop medicine into his mouth on Sabbath, Shabbos, because there may be a danger to life, and every possible danger to life supersedes Shabbos. If a building collapsed on someone on the Sabbath and it's uncertain whether he is there or not, it is uncertain whether he is alive or dead, or it's uncertain whether he is a heathen or a Jew, they must clear the heap of debris for him. If they found him alive, and they must clear the rest of the debris for him, but if he is dead, they leave him there. Okay. Let me see if I finish.
Shumos.
If we have, I think we're going to finish this tomorrow. We have one after this.
Okay, yeah. So after Yoma is Sukkah.
Sukkah. Okay. Shumos. Okay. Daled, right, 4-8. Okay. 4-7.
Yeah.
Daled Zion. The Reb Eliezer says Truma is nullified in 101. Rabbi Shua says in 100 and something, but there's no measure to this in something. The Reb Ben Mesulam says, and something is one kav to 100 saws, 1/6 of which renders meduma. Reb Shua says black figs, annual white ones, annual black ones, large fig cakes, and annual small ones, and small ones, annual long.
The word is anal, not annual.
Oh, no. The small ones are null, large ones, round ones are null, rectangular ones are null, round ones. Reb Eliezer forbids, but Rebbe Akiva says if it is known what fell in, one does not annul the other, but if it is not known what fell in, one annuls the other. In which case, if there were 50 black figs and 50 white ones, if the black ones fell in, the black ones are forbidden and the white ones are permitted. If a white one fell in, the white ones are forbidden, the black ones are permitted. If it's not one which fell in, one annuls the other, and this Rebbe Eliezer is stringent and Rebbe Shua is lenient. Okay.
Okay.
Olios. Hey, Vav. How so? If an olive pressing basket was placed on top of a pit or a cistern that is inside a house, the contents of the pit or cistern remain tahor. However, if an olive pressing basket was placed on top of either a well that is level to the floor of the house or a broken basket, contents of the well or the basket become tameh. On the other hand, if a flat board or kneading board without sides was placed on top of either a well that is level to the floor of the house or on top of a broken basket, the contents remain tahor. This is because utensils combine with the walls of the structure to curtail tumah only when they are with walls. How high must the wall be to block tumah? 100, one handbreadth. However, one half of a handbreadth is from a wall and the other half of a breadth is from the olive pressing basket is not considered to be a wall. It is only a wall when one of them is a handbreadth by itself. Just as could tell tumah when they're inside, they could tell tumah when they're outside. How so? An olive pressing basket is placed on pegs outside a house. If there is tumah underneath the olive pressing basket, utensils inside it remain tahor. If the olive pressing basket is placed on pegs next to the wall of the courtyard or the wall of a garden, it does not contain curtail tumah. If a beam is placed upon two wheels and a pot is suspended from the beam, if there is tumah between the beam, utensils inside the pot are tahor. For Rebbe Akiva's right. Rebbe Akiva, they are ruled tameh by the sages. Okay.
One more.
Right? One man and utensils become roofs to convey tumah, but not to maintain something in tahor. How so? 4 people are holding a slab of stone. If there is tumah below the slab, the utensils on top become tameh. If the tumah above it, the utensils underneath it become tameh. Rebbe Eliezer declares them tahor. The slab is placed on 4 utensils, even utensils made of dung, stone, or unbaked clay. There is tumah underneath it, utensils on top of it become tameh, and if there is tumah above it, the utensils underneath it become tameh. The slab is placed on 4 stones of a living creature. If there is tumah underneath the slab, the utensils on top of it remain tahor. If there is tumah above it, the utensils underneath it remain tahor. Okay. And we have idios. Okay. Okay. In 3 cases concerning tumah susceptibility, Reb Tzadok rules that the articles can become tameh, and the sages rule that they are tahor. The nail of a money changer and the wrist merchant's chest and the nail of a sundial. Reb Tzadok deems these capable of becoming tameh, but the sages rule them tahor. There are 4 things that Reb Gamliel deems capable of becoming tameh, and the sages deem tahor: the metal cover of a householder's tent, the hanger of a strigil, and unfinished metal utensils, and a tray that's split into two. But the comments agree with Reb Gamliel in the case of a tray that's split into two pieces, one large, one small, that the large piece is capable of becoming tummy, and the small piece is tahor. In three matters, Reb Gamliel rules stringently in accordance with Beit Shammai. Aleph, one may insulate hot water on Yom Tov for the Sabbath base. One may not straighten a candlestick on Yom Tov. And Gimel, one may bake thick loaves of bread on Yom Tov, only wafers. Now, Gamliel said all the days of my father's house that they would never bake thick loaves of bread on Yom Tov, only wafers. They, the sages who disagree with Rabbi Gamliel, said to him, and what do we do with your father's household? They were stringent upon themselves, but they ruled leniently for the people of Israel, allowing them to bake thick loaves of bread and even cold baked bread on Yom Tov.
Okay, great. Okay, we finished in good time today, which is great.
Okay, have a great day. I'll see you
Okay.
tomorrow. Bye.
Good